Can a word that's in the Bible only 3 times be that important? Welcome to Bible on the Go with Dr. Dan. That word, surprisingly, is Immanuel, the word that means God with us. It's actually only in the Bible 3 times, but the 3 times that it's in there are extremely powerful and meaningful. The first time it's mentioned is in Isaiah 7:14. Now, what's going on in Isaiah 7 is God has given Isaiah a vision of the future, and he's told him the prophecy that he was to make to King Ahaz. And this is one of those dual prophetic messages, because on the one hand, it was addressed to a king living at the time of Isaiah, Ahaz, and then in another sense, he was talking about the Messiah that would come in the future. Some of the greatest minds that have studied this passage are clear about the fact that the words that Isaiah used were able to be used for the local situation, but also to be used when quoted by the New Testament writer. And so here in chapter 7, and I would encourage you, if you're excited about Christmas or good theology, either one or both, you should read Isaiah 7, 8, and 9 carefully, because there's a lot in these passages that's just absolutely amazing as we see the Spirit of God helping Isaiah and his family to be faithful to the messages that God gives them. And so the first time we see it is in Isaiah 7:14. Therefore, the Lord himself will give you a sign. See, the virgin will conceive, have a son, and name him Emmanuel. Well, one of the things that God told Isaiah was that his wife was going to have a baby, and that they were going to name that baby Maher-Shalal-Hash-Baz. I'll say it again. Maher-Shalal-Hash-Baz, which means before the child is able to walk or say mama and daddy, the wealth of Israel will be taken out by the king of Assyria. You see, the kingdom of Israel at the time was very sinful and secular, and one of Isaiah's jobs was to tell the king, judgment is coming. And so he tells that his wife has the little baby, and when you read in chapter 7 and chapter 8 and chapter 9, you see at one point Isaiah says, look here at me and my family. We are signs and symbols in Israel. And he was overtaken with emotion at the thought that his little Maher-Shalal-Hash-Baz walking around his life was a prophecy about the messages that God had given him. And we see this dilemma, we see this challenge that Isaiah is having in chapter 8, and it's the second time we see the word Emmanuel. It's toward the end of God's prophecy to him about what's going to happen to the northern kingdom. And it says, it will pour into Judah, flood over it, and sweep through, reaching up to the neck, and its flooded banks will fill your entire land. And then he says, Emmanuel. Well, we know because of the Christmas narratives that Emmanuel means God with us. But in chapter 8, verse 8, we see Isaiah actually praying the prayer, God, be with us. And then when we go all the way to 700 years into the future, Matthew, the gospel writer, the first gospel writer in the New Testament, in Matthew 1:23, quotes from the Isaiah 7:14 passage in reference to Mary, This was fulfilled to fulfill the word by the prophet. See, the virgin will become pregnant and give birth to a son, and they will name him Emmanuel, which translated is God with us. On the Christian side of things, it's something glorious and grand because we see Jesus coming in the flesh, living a sinless life, and sacrificing himself and rising again on the third day. We see Jesus being the Immanuel that was prophesied some 700 years before Jesus. Praise God! Thanks for watching Bible on the Go with Dr. Dan. If you like these videos, the most important thing you can do is to hit that red button called subscribe. It doesn't cost a thing, and you only have to do it once. Praise God!